Hey everybody, this is Dr. Chris Doss. Thanks so much for joining me today on my page, Biblical Languages and Literature. Before we get started, I want to let you know about some of the exciting course offerings in biblical languages and literature that are being offered through Sabra Global Education, like Dr. Steve Notley's course, Jesus' Parables as Jewish Scripture. This is a great course for those who have a desire to better understand the Jewishness of the New Testament. The book of Isaiah from yesterday to today, which is an ongoing weekly course with Rabbi Dr. Robert Harris of the Jewish Theological Seminary, as well as my own course, How to Read the Bible, Tools for Studying the Jewish and Christian Scriptures. This is an 8-session class that meets 1 hour per week, in which I teach tools and methods for studying the Jewish and Christian Scriptures, including history, culture, and yes, even a bit of language. We look at just the basic elements of Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. And don't worry if you're intimidated by languages, we just deal with the elements so that the student can start to use more sophisticated print and electronic resources for studying the Bible. This course meets live from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, May 10th through June 28th, but it's okay if you can't make the live sessions, as each class is always recorded and uploaded to an online classroom. So be sure to register today. And if these courses might interest a group at your local church, synagogue, or learning group, Sabra offers significant group discounts. Contact info@sabraedu.com to find out more. All right, let's get to our video. Well, Gary, thank you for joining me today. It's an honor to have you here and an honor to have you teaching for Sabra Global Education.
Well, it's just great to be part of the family now, Chris. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to the 4-part course that we're going to be teaching.
Well, before we get to the course, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to this past academic year.
Well, I have had an incredible academic year, mainly because I was on a full year sabbatical from my home institution at Rutgers University, and was able to travel to 3 different countries over the course of 6 months: Israel, France, and Italy. I taught a course called Egypt and the Bible, relevant to our Sabra course, but a full semester course at Bar-Ilan University in Israel in their international MA program, although there were also a few undergraduates and PhD students in the course, and covered a wide range of material. Egypt and the Bible, usually you think of the book of Exodus, but there's more than that, just that. That's the focus, of course. And then in the spring semester, I taught a mini course at the Pontifical Biblical Institute in Rome with students literally from around the world. And if I started listing countries such as Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Kenya, Nigeria, Angola, Indonesia, in addition to the ones from various European countries. And it was a remarkable experience. And that course was How the Bible Reached Us, which was about the Hebrew manuscript tradition, including the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad/St. Petersburg Codex and all other materials as well. That was a great experience because my wife and I we had a few weeks between the 2 teaching assignments. We spent several weeks in the south of France in Provence exploring the very rich medieval Jewish history of cities such as Avignon and others in the region. It was an incredible 6 months of expansive and intellectually wonderful activities.
Oh, fantastic. Now, when you study the Bible or teach the Bible in an international context, I've found that I always come away with something unanticipated or some new perspective. Is there anything that sticks out at you about your experiences teaching to such a broad international context over the past year?
And I didn't even mention that at Bar-Ilan, they have an international program which includes students, especially from East Asia, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and one gentleman from India, in addition to the usual places where you would expect Israelis, North Americans, and so on. You're right. It's different than teaching the American student because you get this global perspective. There's that word global, which is part of the Sabra brand as well. Was there anything specific? I'm not sure that I can just state something specific, but just the wonder of it all right? I mean, both in Israel with students from, as I said, East Asia, and in Rome with students, for example, from African countries. I don't really get the experience to do that teaching at a typical American state university such as Rutgers, even though we are extremely multicultural, New Jersey being such a great multicultural state. And many of our students are first generation students from immigrant families. But this was a whole new experience. So nothing specific that I came away with other than the wonder of it all, that we can all come together in Ramat Gan, Israel, in Rome, Italy, wherever we are in the world. And of course, that's the beauty of an enterprise such as Sabra with the online focus, and just all study the same text. It's absolutely fascinating and wonderful.
Oh, it sounds like a great experience this year for you.
It was just incredible. Yeah.
Before we continue, I'd like to invite you to check out the class page for Dr. Rendsburg's class. Simply go to the Sabra Global Education website, www.sabraedu.com, and click Learn at the top of the page. Then select his class, and there you can get all of the class details and find out more about the course. To find out more about Dr. Rendsburg, be sure to scroll down and click on the YouTube video link. Be sure to reserve a spot soon, as space is limited. All right, let's get back to our video. So tell us a little bit about your recent publications and your latest research. What do you have going on?
Well, my current major project is a commentary on the Book of Samuel for the Jewish Publication Society. People who know the field of biblical studies will know that JPS produced 5 volumes, one for each book of the Torah, Genesis through Deuteronomy. That's where they started several decades ago with the great scholars of our field, Nachum Sarna, Baruch Levine, Jacob Milgram, Jeffrey Tigay, and of that group only Professor Tigay is yet alive. Then they decided to move forward, and they did Megillot volumes, the 5 scrolls, and great commentaries. And now they're moving still more forward, working on the book of Psalms under the general editorship of Ben Summer and the historical books of Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings. And they approached me to do the book of Samuel, and I was, of course, honored to take on this challenge. And I say challenge because, which I didn't really know when I started, but I learned it very quickly, Samuel is the second largest book in the Bible, after the book of Kings by word count. And of course, when I say Samuel, I'm talking in the Jewish tradition, a single book, which becomes 1st and 2nd Samuel, starting very early on. Also, actually, in the Jewish tradition, going back to the Septuagint. But it's been remarkable. I actually completed the work on 1st Samuel. It took me about 5 years, and I completed that only just a couple of months ago.
Well, congratulations on that milestone.
Thank you. And we're not looking at publication tomorrow, hopefully 2024.
Okay.
At 2025, the latest. And of course, composition is very complicated. Anyone who's ever opened up a JPS commentary volume, you've got the Hebrew text, the English translation, all the notes, and then footnotes to the notes, and then excursus material in the back. But I've written it all, and hopefully it'll be out. 2024 would be wonderful, if not 2025. And I took a short break, and now I'm working on 2nd Samuel. I just finished writing chapter 1, and I'm ready to move on to chapter 2. And it's such engaging material. The story of King David in particular. We know more about David. We always think of, well, we probably know more about Moses. And he dominates 4 books, Exodus through Deuteronomy. But of course, so much of that is law and cultic material. There's so much more material about David from the time he first appears on the scene, 1 Samuel 16, until his death, which is actually at the beginning of the book of Kings. And you just continue to read, and you notice things you've never seen before. It's just the wonder of writing a commentary. So I'm thrilled to be engaged with this project, which I do on a regular basis.
Excellent. Well, you know that I eventually will be coming knocking to have you teach a mini course on Samuel for us.
As we say in Hebrew, beratzon rav, with great pleasure.
Well, tell us a little bit about your upcoming course for Sabra Global Education. We're doing a 4-week mini course on Egypt and the Bible, and obviously there is so much that could be said about Egypt. What's the angle that you're taking?
Well, a little background first. Most biblical scholars are trained in the adjacent areas and cognate languages, obviously Ugaritic and Aramaic and broader than that, Akkadian. Very few biblical scholars are actually trained in ancient Egyptian. And very few Egyptologists are trained in Hebrew language and Bible and so on. There are a handful of scholars who bridge the two, and I am included in that group. I do not pass myself off as a professional Egyptologist, but I have been engaged with the study and reading of ancient hieroglyphic texts since my graduate school days. And there's just such a wealth of information there. So I want to combine the two fields that I love, the Bible on the one hand and Egypt on the other, and they inform each other in remarkable ways, or in the case of the focus of this course, Egypt and material from Egypt informs the biblical material, especially in the book of Exodus, obviously, and we will be focusing on that. And the attention is in different directions. There's the historical question. Everybody wants to know, did the Exodus happen? What kind of evidence is there for Israel in Egypt, for Israel leaving Egypt, and so on? We'll address that. That's going to be our opening session. But then there's also the literary presentation of it. And all manner of things, such as Moses, starting with his birth, with Moses being hidden in a small vessel in the bulrushes. This is an evocation of the Egyptian myth of Horus. Holding snakes by the tail, which is how Moses does this atop Mount Sinai in chapter 4, when God gives him the power to do this. This evokes an Egyptian motif. Turning your staff into a snake or a crocodile, which is what happens there in chapter 4, and then the word tanin in chapter 7, most likely crocodile. This is seen in the Egyptian wax crocodile story. I mean, there's just so many angles from the historical and the literary. And that's just the book of Exodus.
Right.
And that doesn't even get us to something like the later books of the Bible, where we actually have the names of pharaohs. I think.
To learn more about this course or any of Sabra Global Education's Bible and theology courses, click the link in the description below or contact us at info@sabraedu.com, info@sabraedu.com. And don't forget to ask about our special group rates.